Speaking of South Africa, Tzu Chi volunteers hand out rice from Taiwan to underprivileged residents in Ladysmith. Philippine Tzu Chi volunteers give their fellow volunteers Edison and Heidi Hina's sandwich home a makeover. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Helen now. Thank you for joining us. As it is still currently winter in South Africa, cold spells continues to grip the country. To help Ladysmith impoverished residents beat the cold, Tzu Chi volunteers recently brought love in the form of rice from Taiwan.
Situated near the mountains, the community of Imawus faces bitterly cold temperatures during the winter. Even standing in the sun, the cold is unstoppable.
If you are crying, I will feel sorry for you.
Volunteers first lead residents in a sign language song to help them warm up, followed by a hot meal. Tzu Chi's annual winter relief distribution in this community is always filled with a carnival-like atmosphere, bustling with life and companionship. Residents of Ladysmith give their old friends a warm welcome through song. Even the local government representative uses a familiar greeting to welcome the volunteers. Most of the residents of this community face the pressure of unstable incomes. 59-year-old Mazibuko has to raise 2 grandchildren on his own and is currently without a job.
My daughter just took off and left her 2 children for me to look after. I'm not working now, so I can't afford to feed them. I can only rely on help from my neighbors.
They don't have a pension for the sick one.
They don't have pension for sick one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You only go for the hospital and they give him the treatment.
Understanding the struggles being fought here, volunteers have provided each family with 2 bags of rice, thus making sure this fight against poverty can be won.
On July 31st, Zheng Cihui and her daughter were driving through Kaohsiung just as the underground gas explosions occurred, with the force of blast leaving Zheng in critical condition. Zheng was immediately sent to an ICU, where she was looked after by Tzu Chi volunteers. Now that she is well enough to go home, on August 28th, volunteers held a farewell party on her behalf.
Zheng Cihui was one of the many injured in the recent tragedy in Kaohsiung. Although she suffered spinal cord and ribs injuries, Zheng survived, a miracle she attributes to the efforts of emergency responders and her daughter.
I owe my life to my daughter, but she blames herself. She feels if she hadn't asked me to take her to her internship, then this wouldn't have happened. However, I say, if it wasn't for her rescuing me, I wouldn't be here today.
Passing through Kaohsiung that fateful night, the mother-daughter pair got caught in the explosions. While her daughter received minor injuries, Zheng was not so lucky. Thankfully, she has recovered enough to be able to finally go home.
We look after her like one of our own. I hope she follows through with her words and spreads her compassion to those who need help.
Saying farewell to one another after almost 1 month of companionship, Tzu Chi volunteers couldn't be happier to see Zheng recovering so well.
The gas explosions in Kaohsiung destroyed drainage pipes in the immediate area, and days of torrential rains that followed quickly caused flooding, leading to the contamination of the water reservoir of a nearby apartment building. As a result, residents have been unable to cook their meals. Thankfully, Tzu Chi volunteers have been delivering vegetarian lunch boxes to the community.
Here in Kaohsiung, water is being pumped out of this apartment building's water reservoir, which was flooded earlier.
Our septic tank overflowed and contaminated our drinking water, so we don't dare use our water now.
We have no water to drink or to cook with.
After learning that residents of this apartment building cannot cook because of contaminated water, Tzu Chi volunteers have been delivering hot meals here on a daily basis.
You have been delivering meals ever since we were out of clean water. I am really grateful to Tzu Chi volunteers.
The food is delicious. Thank you.
Tzu Chi brothers brought meals to us. This really warms my heart.
Now that they've tried our meals, they said they want to buy Tzu Chi's instant rice and make it themselves.
The meals prepared by Tzu Chi volunteers not only satisfy the residents' hunger, but also warm their hearts. The meatless diet also taught the residents to respect life and cultivate blessings for society.
Since the fateful date of the Penghu plane crash, local Tzu Chi volunteers have mobilized to provide support to families affected by the tragedy. Tzu Chi volunteers from Kaohsiung and Taipei also wasted no time and met up with their Penghu counterparts the following date. Even 1 month after the incident, this love and care continues to bring comfort and peace to locals.
Outside the Jingsi Hall, Kaohsiung media volunteers about to set out for Penghu bumped into Tzu Chi volunteer Ling Jingwei and several Jingsi Dharma masters, all of whom were on their way to care for survivors of the Kaohsiung gas blast. Despite the fact that Ling had just returned from Penghu, she was already reaching out to those affected by the explosions in Kaohsiung.
The master tells us to let no second go to waste, so there is no time for rest. The master says those who are safe from harm should help those affected by the disaster. When I heard that, I immediately set out to help.
The day following the Transasia Airways crash, Ling and other Kaohsiung Tzu Chi volunteers immediately boarded a plane for Penghu. Whether it was chanting sutras or consoling grieving families, Ling was seen extending care to those in need. This is 67-year-old media volunteer Oh Rui-xin, who also just returned from Penghu. Oh had just undergone a spinal degeneration surgery and was recovering in his hometown Penghu at the time of the incident. He decided not to sit idly by and took on the task of documenting the work of volunteers.
We knew that there was a shortage of manpower, as there are many Tzu Chi brothers and sisters in Penghu, so we mobilized to offer our assistance.
In fact, soon after the plane crashed in Xixi village, Penghu volunteers immediately set out to the hospital and crash site to provide assistance. Wu Uze and his wife even offered the 9-seater van to help transport volunteers and aid.
Whether it was conducting home visitations or helping chant sutras at the funeral home, we wanted to help out where we could. They needed transportation this time around, so we proceeded to help without hesitation.
We do Tzu Chi work with a joyous heart. Each function serves as an important purpose, and depending on what is needed at the time, we will be ready to fill those shoes.
Learning of what had transpired, Penghu senior Tzu Chi volunteer Huang Wu Lifang immediately made calls to mobilize her counterparts before hurrying to the front lines to help.
This is such a tragic experience for the families. Although we weren't able to fully relate to their pain, we need to show empathy. If they cry and pour out their emotions, we should lend them our ear and our shoulders to cry on.
Although this tragedy will slowly be forgotten by the nation, Tzu Chi volunteers' care will not falter. Always the first to arrive and the last to leave, volunteers hope to be a force of peace and stability for residents of the archipelago.
Tzu Tzu Chi volunteers always help without asking for anything in return, but sometimes good fortune does smile on them as a result. One such case would be Philippine Tzu Chi volunteers Edison and Heidi Hina. Despite their own poverty, the couple invested much time and effort in helping out following Typhoon Kasena in 2009. As part of its overall reconstruction plan, Tzu Chi recently built a new house for the family.
The Hina family never thought that they would ever own a new home.
In my old house, the walls were plastic and cellophane, while the floor was tiled with cardboard. Even if I worked for 10 straight years without making any purchases, I still wouldn't be able to afford a house like this.
Facing hardship his entire life, Edison Hina cannot believe that such good fortune could be his. It all started after Tzu Chi volunteers began turning a dilapidated building into a 3-story apartment. Lead builder Joseph Zarati was also there helping without asking anything in return.
I volunteered for this building effort. Since Tzu Chi has helped me before, I'm here to give back.
Although the Hina family was a victim of Typhoon Kasena in 2009, the family still offer their time to help out fellow victims. For their efforts, Edison and Heidi Hina have been certified as a Faith Corps member and a Tzu Chi commissioner, respectively.
I never asked for Tzu Chi's help, but when I heard about the housing program, I asked a volunteer if I could be included in the program, and he said, of course.
The Hina's 27-person large family used to call a 30-square-meter room home. Now their new home has 6 rooms, and each room comes with its own toilet. The family is so grateful that they are distributing candies to neighbors to share their happiness.
Recently, Northern Taiwan Tima members held a free clinic in Ruifang and also visited Keelung residents to safeguard their health. Meanwhile, a free clinic was also held in Taidong's Chenggong, where doctors were able to give a Russian friend treatment for her joint pain.
It's like acupuncture, but no pain. I think it's a good choice for her.
Here in Taidong's Chenggong, Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital's traditional Chinese medicine doctor Wu Xinjie is working on a woman from Russia who suffers from chronic hip joint pain. Wu suggests a change in eating habits and additional exercise as a way to relieve the patient's symptoms.
It's her first time and she's a bit afraid, so I used fingers to press on pressure points instead. Later we'll try moxibustion as well.
И очень благодарна. Сенсе. Сенse. Sensei.
Another doctor treats a grandmother, showing her how to take care of her eyes. Also attending the clinic, Jin Zhenling, who hails from Cambodia, was extremely touched by how friendly the Taiwanese doctors were.
The service was great. Everyone was kind.
74 medical staff from various Tzu Chi hospitals in eastern Taiwan are here in Taidong's National Chenggong Commercial and Agricultural Senior Vocational High School to conduct a free clinic. Services include internal medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, among others.
When things are peaceful, we should be grateful. When things are calm, it also means we should give selflessly to reciprocate. The more we do, the more blessings and wisdom we gain.
Doing something meaningful on their day off, Tima doctors from eastern Taiwan are giving selflessly to safeguard the health of those in these remote areas. Tima doctors are also here in Ruifang for a free clinic. Upon hearing the good news, local residents rush for a chance to be seen by a doctor for free.
There was an electricity outage yesterday, and I twisted my ankle when walking down the stairs.
Curing symptoms with an ancient treatment, Tima doctors added extra touch of love and care.
If you're uncomfortable, tell the nurse immediately. Don't try to endure the pain.
Everyone was very accommodating. The doctors were very friendly. Dr. Jiang's skills were good. It was better than getting a shot. I'm feeling much better now. Getting a corticosteroid injection hurts a lot. Now I can move my ankle.
Shutting down her clinic for the day, traditional Chinese medicine Dr. Jiang Qing feels contributing to Tzu Chi's bi-monthly free clinic is more worthwhile than the money she would have made tending to patients at her clinic.
I'm just doing my part to help those in need. I see how much effort other sisters are putting into the free clinic, and we all feel very fortunate and happy to be working together.
Taking their medical service on the road, another team of doctors went on home visitations in the Keelung area.
I eat a lot, but I don't absorb the nutrients. I always have diarrhea the next day.
Continuing to look after the health of the poor and needy, team of doctors island-wide remain steadfast in their mission to provide care where and when needed.
The Victoria home in Colombo, Sri Lanka, houses those who are both physically and mentally disabled. Singapore team of doctors, local entrepreneurs, and Tzu Chi volunteers recently set up a free clinic at the home, providing a wide range of medical services.
Born with disabilities, most of the patients living in this care center seldom get away from their beds. Unable to properly express themselves, they often have to bear their discomfort and illness without support.
It's not the treatment as such, because the way they move and the way they talk and they dance and they communicate, so that feeling goes to their heart.
With the assistance of local interpreters, Tima doctors carefully examine each resident before treating them with the equipment they brought along.
If we have a chance, we do our best to others.
Among the volunteers are businessmen from Singapore who help the volunteers wash the bodies of the residents. Seeing how the residents here have trouble moving about and taking care of themselves, volunteers now cherish their healthy bodies even more.
We can use our hands and feet to do what we want. We're fortunate to have this life and this health, so we really need to use our body to serve others when we can.
Feeling the volunteers' loving care, the patients convey their gratitude via smiles and hand gestures.
In Vietnam's Hai Nguyen province, Tzu Chi volunteers have been caring for students at the blind center for more than 11 years. And for the past 3 years, with white canes donated by the visually impaired in Taiwan, students at the center can finally go to school on their own. The good affinity between the visually impaired in both nations started because of Tzu Chi volunteer Ling San Tang. Here's why. Although visually impaired, students at this blind center in Hai Nguyen, Vietnam seize every opportunity to learn. To show their love for Mother Earth, these students insist to print their braille cards on recycled paper. For the past 11 years, Vietnam Tzu Chi volunteers have been visiting the center on a weekly basis. The white kings that came from the blind in Taiwan have given them a chance to be independent.
When walking with a white cane, we can tell if we hit an obstacle or not.
I am using a white cane given by the visual impaired in Taiwan. It's like the white cane is guiding me along the right path in life.
When accompanying the girl, I told her about Tzu Chi's efforts in helping the visually impaired in Hai Nguyen province. I said that Tzu Chi has been visiting the blind students on a weekly basis. She then asked me if the blind people over there needed white cans.
In Malacca, Malaysia, a car dealer has decided to help Tzu Chi spread the proper practice of the lunar July by hosting a blessing ceremony at his dealership. But first, we go to Fujian, China, where a former Tzu Chi care recipient has decided to reciprocate by donating some 300 square meters of her home to establish the new Tzu Chi Qingyang retreat.
I want to join Master Zheng Yan in walking the Bodhisattva path. Therefore, I have decided to donate this venue so we may further our spiritual cultivation together. I wish you all good fortune, peace, and prosperity.
Zhang Meirong of Quanzhou, Fujian, who once received Tzu Chi's aid in the past, decided to reciprocate by donating the venue needed to establish the new Qingyang retreat. The family-like atmosphere of the retreat's inauguration ceremony also includes a lunar July blessing ceremony to promote proper worship. Over at the Chendai retreat, participants also learned to embrace a vegetarian diet and give up the burning of joss paper.
I want to become the master's disciple, so I decided to become a vegetarian. After several years of practicing such a diet, my body feels very healthy.
I have been following the master's teaching. I haven't burned joss paper for 3 to 4 years, and instead now donate the money to charity to help the needy.
Inspired changes in community, Tzu Chi is helping accumulate positive energy in Quanzhou. Over in Malacca, Malaysia, more than 400 people are attending this Tzu Chi Lunar July Blessing ceremony. Later, volunteers take to the stage to promote the proper practices to observe this month, which serve as a wake-up call for many.
What a waste of money. Joss paper is not cheap either. It can be quite costly.
A car dealer, Chen Baochen, decided to host the ceremony at his dealership at his sister's recommendation.
The more joss paper is burned, the better people hope their business will be. However, this is quite damaging to our planet, so I do not endorse such a practice.
Watching them burn joss paper really breaks my heart. Our planet is already enduring so much abuse. The global climate has been severely disrupted. Don't they notice the change at all?
To help protect Mother Earth, Malacca's volunteers are also spreading the message in communities. The director of the local Tzu Chi chapter also decided to host a blessing ceremony at her mother's home.
Let's gather our savings and contribute to a great cause.
The director's mother also speaks out and asks everyone to seize the opportunity to do good deeds.
Life is not just about making money. Safety comes first. You can't just live life aimlessly. Why not join Tzu Chi and volunteer your time?
Whether it is doing good deeds or practicing filial piety, surely more people need to get involved. We go to Indonesia at the end of the show. The country's armed forces organized a 3-day joint free clinic with Tzu Chi Foundation and other governmental organizations to mark its 69th birthday. The event was held at Bogor, West Java, and helped a total of 15,000 residents. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for watching DaAi Headlines. Goodbye.